What's going on, guys? Sherjan here, your personal mentor. So I've spoken twice at TEDx, and I think there's a massive disconnect in what people think TEDx is, or these TED Talks are, and what it actually takes to get on it. So the truth is, yes, it's cool to go and speak at a TEDx event. It's not as high quality as a TED event. TED events are obviously a lot harder to become a speaker at. But I think a lot of you guys, a lot of people that are watching this channel could ultimately be TEDx speakers. And I don't think it's that hard to become one. But there's definitely a path to it. So in this video, I want to kind of talk about how you can actually improve your chances of becoming a TEDx speaker if that's something that you're passionate about. So I've done 2 TEDx talks so far. One was in 2015 and the other one was in 2017. But for me to be able to get to that point, I actually started building the first thing, which is building the brand. So I started building my brand in around 2010. So 5 years before I got invited to do my TEDx talk, right? Now this doesn't mean that everybody has to wait 5 years. Some people wait 5 minutes and they get invited to TEDx talks. But for me, it took about 5 years, and that wasn't the plan. The first part was always just build a brand and do what you love. So for me, what I love doing was teaching this. I've been teaching students for the last 10 years so far. And I started this, channel in terms of like the school, not this YouTube channel, but the school and this coaching, this mentorship about 10 years ago. And when I started that, the whole idea wasn't to ultimately get on a TED Talk style or TEDx stage. It was more to do what I love doing. So what I want you to do is start building your brand beyond your corporate brand. So let's just say you're working at McKinsey or Google or Facebook or investment banking at Goldman Sachs. Doesn't matter what you're working. That's unfortunately not good enough. People who end up speaking at these TED style talks, they generally bring something unique and differentiated to the stage that other people just cannot bring, right? And that usually means something that they've started by themselves. So they've pushed the platform, they've gone beyond the platform that's provided to them, and they've done something on the side. So for me, my coaching network and my teaching and all this workshops that I used to do, that stuff has always been independent of me working at Morgan Stanley or working at Google. Right? So by doing that, I started building a brand, and that brand building basically allowed me to get a lot of experience and a lot of exposure. So that's the first thing. Start building a brand outside of work, whatever you're passionate about. Maybe you're passionate about dancing. Maybe you're passionate about traveling. Maybe you're just passionate about teaching other people how to play a musical instrument. Doesn't matter what it is. Figure out what you're truly passionate about and start doubling down on that and build that brand. All right, so now that you have the brand being built and it's in momentum, and it's moving forward and you're kind of spreading that brand around the world, you also need to start working on becoming great at public speaking. I've always been naturally good at public speaking because I'm not, worried about what people will think what I say, and sometimes I'll make a lot of mistakes, and that's totally fine. I'm not worried about it. But that comes naturally to a lot of people. My dad was in the military, so I got a lot of the public speaking skills from him. And then just generally speaking, I've been confident in terms of, in situations that I'm a new person to or I'm meeting a bunch of new people, I've been generally confident. So if you feel like you want to ultimately get on a TED Talk stage or some other stage and speak, you obviously will need to get better at public speaking. So part of your brand building should involve public speaking. So my workshops for the last 10 years have always been in-person workshops, right? I was traveling to different parts of the world, and I would, teach students in large format events with 500 to 1,000 students. Because of that, I built my brand also as a public speaker. So start getting yourself involved in college, in campus, maybe even at different events that happen at work, maybe things that happen outside of work, any of those things, right? Start involving yourself where you are speaking on a public stage, not doing Instagram Live, not doing YouTube Live, actually in front of a bunch of people, an audience, right? And it doesn't have to be thousands of people. It could be 20 people, 50 people. Just start getting yourself a little bit warmed up with what public speaking is like, and slowly start finding avenues where you can speak in front of large audiences. Because when you do that, what's going to happen is going to make you a better public speaker. Because TED and TEDx, they're not going to take chances of inviting a speaker who's not going to be able to control the stage, command the stage, and be able to convince other people to listen to them, right? So that second piece of learning how to be a better public speaker and building that skill is very, very important. All right, great. So now you have a great brand. Also, you've built something in terms of a skill set of public speaking. Now what you got to do is you got to get in front of enough people who manage the whole TEDx process. Now remember, I'm not talking about TED Talks. TED Talks are a lot more premium, a lot harder to get to. You definitely need to be much more of a celebrity to get there, let's just say. But TEDx Talks are a lot more achievable and attainable. So what you got to do is find in your own local community where are the TEDx Talks happening. Remember, TEDx Talks are usually, it's kind of like a franchise model. They license the brand out to a lot of universities, a lot of communities, a lot of research institutes, all of those places. A lot of cities get a TEDx Talk as well. So there's actually hundreds and hundreds of TEDx Talks happening on an annual basis, and some may be happening in your own neighborhood, in your own city. So find out who is running the TEDx Talk experience, like who's the team that is running the entire show. And generally speaking, it's going to be a bunch of students just like yourself who are managing, or young people who are managing the entire process. So they're getting a venue, they're figuring out who to invite in terms of guests, and they're also looking for good, passionate speakers that fit the theme, right? So for me, when I got invited in 2015, I was again invited by someone like that who was like, hey, we want someone to come in and inspire the next generation of students, right? Similarly, in 2017, a similar thing happened. There was a TEDx committee who wanted to invite me to speak about something that I was personally passionate about, which my brand was built around, which was all this motivation and career coaching and mentorship, and they wanted me to come talk to their audience. So again, start networking with those people, and you can find which are the TEDx Talks. You can just Google it and figure out which are the TEDx experiences that are happening around your neighborhood, around your city, and start interacting with them. But don't interact with them and don't network with those committees unless you've already built a brand and you're ready to do public speaking. Once you've done those two parts, that's when I would recommend you start talking to them. Finally, once you start talking to these committees and you put your name in the hat, sometimes you'll get lucky and they'll invite you to talk, and sometimes you won't get lucky, which is totally fine. But the good thing is hundreds of these talks happen, and if this is something that's important to you, right, that your time will come. But at the same time, don't make it a goal of yours. It was never a goal of mine to be on a TEDx stage or a TED Talk stage or any of those stages. If it comes, great. If it doesn't, not a problem. This is not one of those things like, I'm very against like those Forbes 30 under 30 lists. Those things don't mean anything. Same thing with like talking on a TEDx stage doesn't mean anything, right? It doesn't give you any brownie points. So don't chase it for those reasons where you feel like, oh, it's going to give you some edge in terms of your career progression, or girls at the bar are gonna be like, oh my god, look at him, he's a TEDx speaker. None of those things actually matter. So do it because you're more passionate about building that brand and becoming a better public speaker. If that leads into you getting more public speaking opportunities, one of them may be TEDx, which is awesome, and that's how you can actually get there. Anyways, hopefully this helps, and if you do make it to the big stage or you get a TEDx invite, please let me know. I'd love to find out. All right, take care, team. I appreciate it.